Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you today about something that separates the winners from the wishers, the doers from the dreamers. It's called discipline. You see, everybody wants success, but not everybody wants to do what it takes to get there. Discipline ain't something you're born with. It's something you develop, just like a muscle. You've got to work on it. You've got to build it. You've got to live it. Discipline is not punishment. It's training your mind to do what's necessary, not what's easy. This is a truth many people misunderstand. When the word discipline comes up, it often gets associated with restriction, deprivation, or even suffering. But real discipline isn't about being hard on yourself just for the sake of it. It's about commitment. It's about having the clarity to know what needs to be done and the strength to follow through, even when it's uncomfortable, even when no one is watching, and especially when it's inconvenient. Discipline is not about saying no just to suffer. It's about saying no to what distracts you so you can say yes to what builds you. The greatest reward of discipline isn't in the immediate outcome. It's in the person you become through it. Training your mind to choose what's necessary requires a mindset shift. Most people operate based on what feels good in the moment, what brings short-term comfort or pleasure. But people with discipline learn how to delay gratification. They understand that skipping a moment of comfort now can lead to a life of freedom later. This doesn't come naturally. It's a muscle that must be exercised. And like any muscle, it grows with repetition and consistency. The more you choose what's necessary over what's easy, the more natural that choice becomes. It becomes who you are. The path of least resistance may feel easier in a moment, but over time it leads to a place you don't want to be. Frustration, regret, and mediocrity. Choosing the necessary path, even when it's harder, sets you apart from the average. You see, life is always going to present you with two doors. One door says comfort, and it's wide open with flashing lights and red carpets. The other door says growth, and it looks plain, quiet, maybe even intimidating. But behind that second door, discipline, is where your power lies. People who train their minds to go through that second door are the ones who end up where they actually want to be. They wake up early even when they're tired. They stick to their plans even when their emotions say otherwise. They follow through on commitments they made to themselves when they were in a high state of clarity. That's the kind of mindset discipline creates. Discipline means doing the hard things, the boring things, the things nobody claps for, but they add up. It's not one big heroic act that changes your life. It's the small daily decisions made in private, done repeatedly, that create results in public. People will say you're lucky. People will say it just worked out for you. But you'll know it was discipline. That quiet force working behind the scenes, pushing you forward while others stood still. That's what separates those who make progress from those who stay stuck. To train your mind for this level of discipline, you have to be intentional. It won't happen by accident. You've got to watch what you feed your mind. You've got to control your environment. You've got to audit your habits. And most importantly, you've got to learn how to lead yourself, because if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead your life. Discipline is the bridge between the person you are now and the person you want to become. Every decision you make either takes you a step closer or a step further away from that person. So when you choose what's necessary over what's easy, you're not just building a habit, you're building your identity. And that identity becomes the foundation for every success you will ever experience. You can't reach success without mastering small daily decisions. Most people dream big, set lofty goals, and talk about the life they want to create, but very few realize that the road to that life is paved with the choices they make every single day. Success is not one giant leap, it's a series of consistent steps taken in the right direction. The decisions you make from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed are writing your story. Whether you decide to snooze your alarm or get up on time, whether you eat something healthy or something convenient, whether you spend your time building or wasting, it all adds up. Those decisions may seem small in the moment, but they compound over time. Mastering these small, seemingly insignificant choices is where real transformation begins. People often underestimate the power of routine because it feels mundane, but what feels boring is actually the foundation of greatness. It's easy to overlook how important the small things are when we're always focused on chasing the big things. But the truth is, if you don't learn to handle the little things with discipline and intentionality, you'll never be able to manage the big things when they arrive. You can't expect to manage $1 million opportunity if you can't manage your morning routine. You can't expect to be trusted with major responsibilities if you can't even stick to your own promises. The small decisions, how you talk to yourself, how you plan your day, how you spend your idle time, are like seeds. Planting the right seeds daily is the only way to harvest long-term results. The people who succeed at the highest level aren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who commit to making good choices even when it's hard. They don't leave their lives to chance or emotion. They don't wait to feel inspired. They decide, they act, they follow through. And it's not because they're perfect, it's because they've trained themselves to show up even on the days they don't feel like. That kind of consistency only comes from mastering the daily decisions that most people ignore. It's not about doing extraordinary things once in a while. It's about doing ordinary things with excellence over and over again. If you want to elevate your life, pay attention to the choices you make when no one's watching. That's where discipline lives. It lives in the moments where you could cut corners and no one would notice. It lives in the moments where you could take the easy way out, but you don't. That's when character is built. And over time, those moments shape who you become. The difference between success and failure is often just a series of choices made differently. One person chooses to stay focused, the other chooses to scroll. One person chooses to prepare, the other chooses to procrastinate. One person chooses growth, the other chooses comfort. These choices don't seem major at the time, but when repeated over weeks, months, and years, they create radically different outcomes. It's easy to be overwhelmed by the big picture, by the goals that seem so far away. But the shortcut, if there is one, is learning to win your day. Just one day. Then do it again tomorrow. Make that phone call. Hit that workout. Read that book. Stay away from distractions. Say no when it counts. Every time you make a decision that aligns with the future you want, you build momentum, and that momentum turns into habits. Those habits become part of your lifestyle, and that lifestyle becomes your destiny. You don't just stumble into success. You build your way into it. one disciplined decision at a time. Habits shape your future. Discipline shapes your habits. This is one of the most powerful truths about success that most people overlook. Everyone wants a better future, a healthier life, stronger relationships, financial freedom, and peace of mind. But wanting alone is not enough. Your future is not determined by the dreams you have, but by the patterns you repeat. The habits you form, what you do daily, automatically, and often unconsciously, are building your tomorrow. And the force that controls those habits is discipline. Discipline is the engine behind intentional living. Without it, habits form randomly based on convenience, emotion, and comfort. With it, habits become tools deliberately crafted to serve your purpose, values, and vision. Most people have dreams, but few have systems. They set goals, but they don't build habits that make those goals inevitable. That's where the breakdown happens. Discipline is what bridges that gap. You may decide that you want to be more focused, productive, or fit, but unless you have the discipline to create and maintain the habits that support those outcomes, it will remain just a wish. The reality is that life doesn't respond to intentions. It responds to action, and your actions are shaped by your habits. This is why successful people take habit building seriously. They don't just rely on willpower. They create routines that reinforce the kind of life they want to live. They build their mornings, protect their time, plan their priorities, and stick to commitments. Not because it's easy, but because discipline has made it a way of life. Habits don't change overnight, and that's where many people lose the battle. They try to overhaul everything at once, get overwhelmed, and revert back to old patterns. But discipline teaches you patience. It shows you the value of slow, steady progress. One push-up becomes two. One journal entry becomes a daily reflection. 1 hour of focused work becomes a consistent workflow. These things seem small at first, but that's how powerful habits are. They start invisible and grow into undeniable. Discipline helps you stick with it through the invisible phase. It reminds you why you started when motivation fades. It keeps you aligned when distractions pull at your attention. It gives you a standard to hold yourself to, regardless of how you feel. One of the most important aspects of discipline is self-respect. When you keep the promises you make to yourself, your self-respect grows. When you break them, even for small things, your trust in yourself weakens. This affects everything: your confidence, your mindset, your relationships, and ultimately your outcomes. Discipline trains you to follow through. It silences the inner voice that says just this once won't hurt, and replaces it with a stronger voice that says every decision matters. It teaches you that how you do anything is how you do everything. If you allow sloppiness in your small habits, it's only a matter of time before it bleeds into the bigger areas of your life. The habits shaped by discipline become your identity. They stop being things you do and become part of who you are. You no longer have to convince yourself to do the right thing. You just do it because that's who you become. And that's where real change happens. When discipline builds habits and those habits build identity, you begin to operate from a different level. You stop chasing results and start embodying the mindset that creates those results naturally. You start attracting what you used to chase because you've become the type of person who earns it. This is the true power of disciplined habit building. It doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are, and who you are determines what kind of future you'll walk into. Saying no to distractions is saying yes to your destiny. In a world filled with noise, endless options, and constant interruptions, the ability to stay focused is not just a skill, it's a superpower. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or resources. They fail because they get sidetracked. They allow distractions to pull them away from what truly matters. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve your purpose, you are saying no to the thing that does. Every time you give in to momentary pleasure or comfort, you are giving up a piece of your long-term vision. This is the cost of distraction. It's not just lost time, it's lost momentum, lost growth, lost potential. The problem is that most distractions don't look dangerous. They don't come with warning signs. They come disguised as entertainment, convenience, or temporary relief. But the more you indulge in them, the further you drift from the life you're trying to build. That's why discipline is so essential. Discipline teaches you to evaluate your choices, not by how they feel in the moment, but by what they produce in the long run. It helps you ask better questions, like, will this bring me closer to my goals, or is this aligned with my values? When you start filtering your decisions through those kinds of questions, distractions lose their power. They stop being tempting and they start feeling like barriers to your destiny. People often think that success is about doing more, but real success often comes from doing less. Less scrolling, less reacting, less chasing things that don't matter. It comes from being ruthless with your attention. Because whatever gets your attention gets your life. If your attention is scattered, your energy will be scattered. And if your energy is scattered, your results will be mediocre. Focus is not just a productivity hack. It's a survival strategy for your dream. Every moment you stay focused on your path, you're laying bricks on the foundation of your future. But every moment you give to a distraction, you're giving away those bricks to someone else's vision. You're building someone else's empire while your own foundation stays incomplete. Learning to say no is one of the hardest but most powerful things you can do. Not because it's rude, but because it's necessary. You have to say no to good things to make room for great things. You have to say no to what's urgent so you can focus on what's important. You have to say no to what's popular so you can stay true to what's purposeful. And that kind of clarity doesn't come by accident. It comes through discipline. Discipline sharpens your vision. It reminds you of what matters. It strengthens your ability to resist temporary rewards for the sake of long-term success. The truth is, distractions will never fully disappear. There will always be something trying to pull you away from your goals, whether it's people, habits, doubts, or even your own emotions. But the more disciplined you become, the less power those distractions will have over you. You will begin to recognize them faster, respond to them better, and recover from them quicker. You will stop negotiating with distractions and start ignoring them. You will become so locked in on your mission that everything else feels like noise. This is what it means to protect your focus, to guard it like your future depends on it, because it does. Every no you say to distraction is a yes to your growth, your purpose, your legacy. It's a silent declaration that you're serious about where you're going and you're no longer available for anything that slows you down. Consistency beats motivation every single time. Motivation is fleeting, unpredictable, and based on how you feel in the moment. Some days you wake up ready to take on the world. Other days you don't even want to get out of bed. That's human nature. If you rely solely on motivation to move you forward, Your progress will always be inconsistent. You'll work hard when you feel inspired and stall when you don't. But consistency doesn't ask how you feel. Consistency shows up regardless. It doesn't wait for the right mood or perfect timing. It moves with intention, not emotion. That's the difference between those who get results and those who just talk about them. Consistency turns goals into achievements, visions into reality, and habits into character. The truth is, nobody feels motivated all the time. Even the most successful people have days when they feel tired, distracted, or discouraged. But what separates them is their ability to keep showing up anyway. They've trained themselves to stick to the process even when the passion fades. They understand that progress is not made in the moments of inspiration. It's made in the mundane. It's built in the repetition. That's where strength is formed, character is developed, and excellence is cultivated. The consistent actions you take every day create a rhythm, and that rhythm becomes the soundtrack of your success. It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing the right things repeatedly until they become second nature. Many people spend too much time waiting for motivation to strike. They read quotes, watch videos, listen to podcasts, hoping they feel something powerful enough to push them into action. But action creates motivation more than motivation creates action. When you take consistent steps, no matter how small, you begin to build trust in yourself. That self-trust becomes momentum, and that momentum creates the very motivation you were waiting for. You start to see results, feel stronger, and believe deeper. And the more you believe, the more consistent you become. It becomes a cycle that lifts you instead of one that holds you back. But it starts by showing up when you least feel like it. Consistency is not glamorous. It's not loud or dramatic. It's quiet, steady, and often overlooked, but it's powerful. It compounds. It stacks up over time in a way that motivation never could. One workout won't change your body. One study session won't make you a master. One good decision won't transform your life. But the repetition of those things day after day is unstoppable. Consistency makes you reliable to yourself and to others. It becomes your reputation. People begin to know you as someone who follows through, who honors their word, who finishes what they start. And that kind of reputation opens doors that talent alone never could. What makes consistency so challenging is that it requires patience. It demands that you keep going even when the results are invisible. It asks you to stay committed even when you feel like quitting. It tests your resolve with distractions, setbacks, and slow progress. But every time you choose to keep going, you strengthen your foundation, you become more disciplined, more focused, more resilient. You begin to realize that motivation is nice when it's there, but it's not necessary. What's necessary is your commitment to the bigger picture. That's what keeps you moving when motivation disappears. That's what keeps the fire burning when everything around you feels cold. That's what transforms effort into legacy. When you make consistency your standard, you no longer need to be pushed. You become self-driven. You don't chase the feeling, you build the routine. You don't wait for the right day, you create the right habit. And in that decision, you gain a level of power that motivation can never provide. If you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice. That's a reality many people learn too late. Dreams, goals, ambitions. Everyone has them. But not everyone is willing to pay the price they require. There's a cost to every vision, and that cost is paid in sacrifice. The discipline to say no to things that feel good now so you can achieve something greater later is the currency of success. If you're not willing to give up temporary pleasures, distractions, and comforts, you will eventually give up the life you could have had. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, you're making a trade. Whether you realize it or not, you're deciding what matters most by what you're willing to let go of and what you're willing to fight for. Life is constantly asking you to choose. You can either have excuses or results. You can have comfort or growth. You can have entertainment or elevation, but you can't have both. At some point, you'll have to decide what matters more, your dreams or your distraction.